Welcome back to Childcare Chatter, the podcast where we dive into everyday wins, challenges, and insights of childcare providers. I'm your host, Emika, childcare consultant for Lynn County. Today, we're tackling a topic that every provider, whether you run a center or care for children in your home, faces every single day. Big feelings in little bodies. We all know that toddlers and preschoolers can go from giggles to meltdowns in seconds. And as providers, we want to respond in ways that help children learn to manage their emotions while keeping our classroom and homes running smoothly. To help us unpack this, I'm joined by Tricia Shannon, our behavioral specialist here at Child Care Resource and Referral of Southeast Iowa. She works closely with consultants and providers to support children's social and emotional growth, helping them understand that child behavior to build strategies that actually work in real life. Today, she's here to give us insight into what's really going on when little ones have big feelings. Hi, Tricia.
Hi, Emika. Thank you for having me.
Good.
I am glad we're discussing this topic, as this is something that every provider faces on a daily basis. All of us face this on a daily basis with children, whether it's in a center, in a home, or just in the world. So this is a great topic to be talking about.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here. So let's start with the basics. Why do young children have such big emotions? I mean, sometimes it can feel like a small thing, like not wanting to share a toy, but it becomes a huge meltdown. What's going on developmentally that makes it so tough for them to regulate?
First of all, children's communication is their emotions. So whether they're having a meltdown or whether everything's going great, it's their way of communicating with us what they feel. It's the adult's challenge that we need to know what they're communicating with us. Young children often experience big emotions because their brains and their bodies are still developing the tools needed to understand, regulate, and express their feelings. So if we want to get into a little bit of a science of this, a child's brain is not developed at birth. We know this. So the very front of their brain, the prefrontal cortex, is what helps us with impulse control, decision making, and emotional regulation. This is still developing for them. So big emotions happen because I don't know how to regulate. I don't know how to make decisions yet. Somebody needs to teach me. And I need experiences that happen with people that are safe, that I can feel and express those emotions. So there's also a little part in our brain called the amygdala, which is kind of in the middle, and this processes those emotions, especially of fear and anger. A lot of us know it as flight or fright, correct? This is more active and reactive in early childhood because they don't have the array of emotions and feelings and the understanding of how that works. So our body needs to know how to react if we're not safe. So that's going to be hyper-reactive for them. Whereas adults, we've learned through all the modeling and our experiences and stuff, where that is that we can kind of control some of that and have those management and those coping skills.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was a beautiful explanation. Okay, so diving more into your powerful perspective, I think as providers, we understand that behavior is communication. We can step back and respond with a little bit more patience instead of reacting, out of frustration. So that was beautiful advice. So let's get into some real life childcare scenarios. What are some of the most common big feeling moments that you see providers struggling with?
A lot of times, especially in homes and centers, you see difficulties during transitions. So anytime that we go from one activity to another. So for example, going from circle time, where all the children are together and doing music or reading a story, and then all of a sudden it's time to wash our hands and go to lunch. Children that have not had those experiences of learning how to cope with that change are going to see that as I don't know what to do. So I need to act out because that's all I know. So we as adults need to help them through that. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about routines within routines. So that we talk with the children ahead of time and say, this is what's going to happen. So they know ahead of time. We follow a consistent schedule. And we say what's going to happen next. So maybe we get up from circle time. We line up, we go wash our hands, and then we know that the table's ready for us to sit down. Some others might be biting. A child that has something taken away from them may not have the words or the language right away to say, please stop, that's mine. Well, they're still going to use their mouth. And what's helpful in your mouth? You chop down, right? Because I want you to stop. And I don't know how to tell you that. However, adults can come in and have that conversation with those two children about how both parties feel. I know that you feel hurt because someone just bit your arm. And you can talk to the other child and say, I know that you were frustrated that your toy was taken away and you bit their arm. Next time you can say, stop. And we can also use the words, we can use visuals, however we want to do that. A couple others are running. I might, as a child, feel unsafe with what's happening in the classroom. I might be overstimulated. Everybody's playing, everybody else knows what to do. I feel as a child, I don't know what to do. I'm going to run. I'm going to flee the situation. We as adults, as a provider, we're going to see that as running out of the room, danger, they just want to get away, they're eloping. It means they need a little bit of attention, and I need to go to them and ask, how can I help? And maybe that's listening to them, helping them regulate, and then moving on to what they're interested in, and maybe calming them, give them a calming place to go to, some breathing skills, so they can settle themselves to understand what's coming next.
Wow. Okay. So I have 2 follow-up questions. What about children who struggle with separation anxiety at drop-off? What can providers do in the moment to ease that?
Okay. What providers can do in the moment is first have a conversation with the parent and the child together. Not just take the child from the parent, but talk with the parent and the child and say, oh, here's what we're going to do today at school. And have the parent, the mom, the dad, or the guardian, have that conversation as well. Start with, if we have a child that's having some separation anxiety, have the adults have that communication of how they're going to do that handoff of the child. Are there some ways that I've seen in the past where the teachers will take a picture of the caregiver that drops off and the child, we take that picture, we put it in a baggie. So whenever that child is feeling like I miss my mom or I miss the person that dropped me off, we can look at that picture and we can talk about what point of the day that person's going to come back. After lunch, after recess, and we can keep going back to that. Another good thing too is not only the separation of the child, but understand that that parent or that caregiver that's dropping off is also having that separation. So allow them to feel comfortable with leaving, maybe looking in the window so the child doesn't see them afterwards, because we all know the child stops crying probably within less than 5 minutes. Maybe that parent or caregiver can call and you say, everything's going fine, or you check in with them. But it's going to be something that's going to take numerous days. It's not a one and done. So it may seem like sometimes it's getting a little bit worse, but stick with it and keep your schedule online with the routine that you have with that child.
Oh, and that really helps foster the relationship between parent, child, and teacher, because now the parent feels more comfortable that you're accommodating for them, and then they're more likely to also, fit with the schedule. So that was really good. So I have a second question. So for providers working in smaller home settings versus like larger centers, do these challenges look a little different?
They absolutely do. And I think a lot of that is when you have less children, you're going to be able to have those deeper relationships, and you're probably going to know your family is just a little bit deeper just because you have fewer to know, right? And you're also going to have multi-ages. So you're going to be able to have those even closer and deeper relationships that are going to help those transitions in relationships. But they can also go the opposite way, that we know exactly what we can do at this person's house, and we can get away with it. So it's very important that Even if you are a home provider and you think, I only have however many children I have, it's still very important to still have your schedules, your routines, and your consistency.
Absolutely. Okay, so now let's get a little bit more practical. When a child is in the middle of a meltdown, or what we call big feelings, what's the best first step a provider can take?
The first step is to get close to the child. I don't mean touch the child, I mean just be in presence of the child. So maybe standing next to them. If a child is escalated, it is best not to overtalk or touch the child. It is best to go up and to say, I see or I hear that you are upset. How can I help? If the crying goes up further or they get even more dysregulated, just say, I am here for you. My job is to keep you safe. And you just kind of keep having that conversation until you can get them regulated. You can also start doing your deep breathing techniques. You can put your hand on your heart and say, I feel my breath, and take 3 deep breaths. So that's going to distract the child to be looking at you, and it's going to help them see you breathing, and it's going to help them. If you're able to put their hand on your heart and your hand on theirs, then you can feel and get that breathing together. Another real simple trick is, have you ever been in a meltdown yourself as an adult and someone says, would you like a drink of water? And all of a sudden for that moment you're like, oh yeah, I would like some water. So you don't think about what you were agitated for. It's not going to last very long, but you have that distraction period that then you can help that child regulate a little bit more before having the conversation and listening to them. Because again, their emotions are communications, and we need to know and try to learn what they're saying to us.
I love how you say that their emotions are communication, but we're also teaching them how to communicate verbally as well. So what language can providers use to validate their feelings without kind of giving into their behavior?
Okay. Label your feelings. Talk about your feelings all the time. If a child is having a meltdown, I see and verbally say what you're seeing and how you believe they're feeling. You look to be angry. I see your fists tight. I see your mouth doing this. And make sure that you're doing exactly the same look that they have. I see your body is stiff. You look angry. It's okay to be angry. How can I help you not to be angry? And it's also important that the children also see you labeling your own emotions. When I see you angry, I feel sad because I don't know how to help you right now. Help me help you. So it's very important to label all the time. And even in your great moments, when you're talking with all the children, oh, I see that you're really happy playing in the housekeeping area because you're super excited, your voice went up a little bit, you have a big smile. So that if you're labeling those emotions and talking about them all the time, the children will start doing that even with one another. A peer will be crying and really sad. You'll notice that another peer goes up and says, I see that you're sad and you're crying. How can I help?
That's beautiful. And we do see that all the time going into different daycares and centers, so we can see that providers are using those strategies. So I know you mentioned before a calm down area, calm down corner. So I know you recommend having a calm down corner. If so, and I know you do, so what should go in it? What do you recommend?
A calm down area, first and foremost, we always need to remember this is a place that the child can go when they want to go. This is not a place that you are sent to, and it should be a place that you can feel safe. So soft materials, maybe a big pillow, maybe some little pillows, maybe a beanbag chair, and then have activities there that they can do that are quiet, soft, and that are going to meet the needs of their emotions. So even in the case that you have someone that's very angry and wants to throw something, what about putting a basket with something soft to throw in there? So maybe it's pom-poms, maybe it's cotton balls. So it's getting that energy out, but it's still soft and it's soothing because I'm also going to feel that. Different textures are nice to have in the calm down area. For example, one of the things that we have in our toolkit now is a turtle that has all different kinds of material on top. So some might be a little rough, some softer, some sparkles, some doesn't. So then that child can have that tactile. So those children that really need that feel in order to calm. Some children need to listen. So maybe we put out different kinds of quiet noisemakers. So the kinds that you turn upside down and the material falls through. Sand, maybe you need timers. Maybe I need a few minutes to do this. So we can, again, one of our toolkit items is different timers that are like 1 minute, 3 minutes, and it's just sand going through. And you'd be surprised by seeing that sand go through, that's also going to calm my body. And it's nice to have feelings. So pictures of feelings with the vocabulary on there. So pictures of a mad face, a sad face, a happy face. Maybe some puppets with those same faces, that we can put a picture to the vocabulary that we have. And we always want pictures and words to be together. And then we're using those all the time.
Okay, that's really good advice. So we're going to talk about supporting our providers. And we don't always talk about it a lot. A lot of our, behavior is about, the children and how we can help, regulate them and help them. But we know that it affects providers as well. Dealing with big emotions all day can be really draining. What advice do you have for providers to stay calm and not take the behaviors personally?
I think that's huge, Amika. I really do. It's because it is one of those things as a human being, we are automatically going to take things personally because we can't fix it immediately and just know. So the first thing is, and this is really common to say, but truly don't take it personally. Because again, we have to remember, especially in early childhood, these kiddos are learning everything. So it's our job to teach and to model everything that we're doing all the time. And all emotions are okay to feel. Not only for children, it's also okay for us as adults to have those feelings too. Adults have their own hot buttons and their own meltdowns. The only difference is we show ours differently because experience has shown us how to cope. So think of all the people in your past who have seen you melt down and some of the interactions that they have with you in order to get you regulated. So that's the opportunity that you have for these children to help them feel safe in whatever emotion they have and to learn those skills as far as coping and regulating, because it really comes through experience. So providers, give yourself grace. If a child is melting down and you need a second to do a deep breathe, if they are safe in their environment, it's okay for them to cry a minute and you to breathe and get yourself regulated. If you're not regulated, you can't help someone else regulate. So you have to think of yourself as well. First, make them safe and then regulate yourself. Maybe you need to take that drink of water and do the balloon breath. And I've done that many times. If you have the ability that there's another adult there working with you, talk with that adult ahead of time so you know when and they know when you need to tap out for a couple seconds. Maybe that is your hot button that child has done. So maybe the child lets go with spit on you. For some adults, that is really something that can put them over the edge and hit a hot button. I understand that. And that is a feeling, and that's okay. So if there's another adult there that you can say, I need a minute, then they can step in. So that child also knows that they're always going to be safe and someone's going to help them even when they hit that hot button. Then afterwards have that conversation and talk about when it is proper to spit, what we do with our mouth, what we don't do with our mouth when we're in the classroom.
I love that you use real life examples, because that was going to be one of my follow-up questions, because there are things that some providers may just see like it's just unacceptable. But, of course the behavior is unacceptable, but how do we regulate so that we can teach instead of, kind of just move away from the original issue?
Absolutely.
So I love that. So this has been an amazing conversation, Tricia. I'm really, really excited that you're here talking with us. But before we wrap up, can you give us 3 quick takeaways for providers when it comes to handling big feelings with little ones?
Absolutely. I would say the biggest one is to remember that all behaviors and all emotions are communication. And the children are trying to tell us something at the level they can at that moment. So it's our job as adults to find out what they're communicating and then teach them through that. It's also important to keep your own calm. Give yourself grace, but keep yourself calm and regulated to the ability that you can. And remember that to teach and model is happening all the time, and you want to teach and model expectations and strategies when children are not escalated. And remember to listen to children. They really are telling you what they need and what they want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise. I know our listeners will walk away with the tools they can use even tomorrow. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into Child Care Chatter. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with another provider. Until next time, remember, tiny hands may have big feelings, but with patience and the right tools, we can help guide them through. We're super grateful for your curiosity about tiny hands and big feelings in our Child Care Chatter podcast. For a deeper dive into behavioral health, swing by our website at iowaccrr.org and join us on social media. Don't miss out. Tune into next month for another exciting episode of Child Care Chatter podcast, brought to you by your pals at Child Care Resource and Referral of Southeast Iowa.